What movie did you watch that traumatized you at a young age? The Never-Ending Story, When the Horse Dies, was the first time I cried during a movie. Our school used to do a cinema day once a month where they played movies in the school hall, and unfortunately the same few movies rotated every 6 months or so. I watched the movie for the first time at one of these showings and didn't really let anyone know I was crying. The second time they showed the movie, I thought I was prepared for the scene, but nope, proper snotty tears and sobbing that time. By the third time they showed the movie, I told my teacher I was sick and got myself sent home from school. I still can't watch the movie without crying my eyes out. Mars Attacks creeped me out for at least a couple years. I saw Children of the Corn at like 5 or 6 at home with my dad. I was okay with it up until they attacked the old people in the cafe. They reminded me of my grandparents and I just started screaming. My dad got in a lot of trouble for that, LOL. E.T. The alien looked way too much like my grandma, which made me believe she was an alien for about 2 years. She was but a different kind of alien. Not movie, but the series Courage the Cowardly Dog. Yeah, those who saw it know what I'm talking about. Not a movie, but an episode of X-Files. It had this stretchy guy who ate people's livers. His eyes would change color before he did. He was killed by an escalator at the end, but that scared me straight for years. The Brave Little Toaster. Watched The Exorcist around 9 years old, and the week of nightmares that followed still haunt me. Vividly remember Reagan climbing into my bed in full possession mode. Return to Oz. The Wheelers alone still give me nightmares almost 40 years later. Deliverance. I was too young for that. The sexual abuse scene was a real eye-opener, and it was scary as shit. But it also launched my love of bluegrass music. Land Before Time. Pet Sematary. The scene where the sister was suffering in bed had me run out of the room as fast as I could, loudly crying face. Event Horizon. The Ring. The original IT. My mom loved horror movies and I was probably 4 or 5 when I first saw it. Scared the living shit out of me and still does to this day. I hate clowns. American History X, the part with the curb specifically. I hadn't been paying attention to even tell you the plot, and haven't watched it since. I just happened to look up and saw that happening. The Secret of Nim. Bridge to Terabithia. It's a fucking children's film. You don't kill the protagonist's friend. Arachnophobia. Fox and the Hound, Land Before Time, and Dumbo. Fire in the Sky. Poltergeist. Signs. Alien. I was like 10 when I first saw it. The chestburster scene left a scar for a good while. I was scared shitless every time. I had a minor discomfort in my abdomen. Darkness Falls. I was terrified of the dark. Showing my age here. The Abominable Snowman, a 1957 black and white movie about an expedition into the Himalayas looking for Yetis. I was 8 or so when I watched it on TV. Scared the living crap out of me. Didn't sleep with the lights off for a long time. The Birds, age 8. Bird phobia lasted until my 30s. My dad says the only movie he remembers me getting super traumatized by was Ernest Scared Stupid. House of Wax, or anything with Kevin Bacon as the baddie. I've always had a fear of mannequins / wax figures and Kevin Bacon. Watership Down was not for kids. Ask me how I know, loudly crying face. Jaws. I was 4, and my dad took me to the cinema to see it. I watched The Exorcist when I was 5, and it messed me up. Where the Red Fern Grows. Our elementary school did a whole school viewing of the old Charlie and the Chocolate Factory as some sort of reward. This was in the late 80s. I think the older grades would have been fine on their own, but the whole set of kids in the lower grades lost their minds when the first golden ticket winner kid sort of drowns in the Candy River and gets sucked up a tube. Someone more informed could clarify that scene, too lazy to Google. When the young kids all freaked out and cried and fell apart, it caused sort of a social contagion wave, and even a good portion of the older kids freaked out too. They released all of us from school early that day. Parents came and picked up kids, and everything like there had been some sort of disaster. Chitty chitty bang bang. The child catcher gave me nightmares for a year or two afterward. I was 5 or 6 years old. Witches. Sleepers with Brad Pitt and Robert De Niro. Gremlins. Not a movie, but a few Twilight Zones messed me up as a kid, like the one where the mannequins come to life, and the one with Talking Tina, and the one with the evil slot machine that keeps screaming Franklin in a creepy voice. I was prompted to ask this question because as I was scrolling through movies to watch on HBO Max, I saw an early 1970s movie called Sisters. A scene in it scarred me as a child. Even though I was mildly curious, I couldn't bear to rewatch it to see if it would have the same effect today.